This month we're going to do a solo instrumental of While My Guitar Gently Weeps, originally done by the Beatles. This is in the original key of A minor, and it was actually voted on by members over on my Patreon page, where you can also find the tabs that we're going to be working on here, as well as other tutorial videos and lessons. You can find all of the information down below in the description. Let's go ahead and dive right into this song and start with my favorite part, which is the intro. I absolutely love the intro to this song. So to start here, what we're going to look at is we're going to be playing an A minor chord, which we can do by just taking our index or middle finger, doesn't really matter here, and placing it on the second fret of the G string. Now to start this, we're going to be using a little bit different of a technique, which is we're going to be alternate picking with our index and middle fingers. So for the very first A minor chord, I like to actually use my middle finger and strum it down over all four strings. And the reason for this is right after I do this down strum, I'm going to play with my middle finger coming up to play the A string, followed by the index. And you see that there are a total of 5 zeros on the A played. So what I do is I alternate between these two fingers. So it looks and sounds something like this. Now as we go to the next measure, you'll notice that we're going to just place a single finger on the third fret of the E string. I like to use my ring finger here on the third fret of the E here. I'm going to do the same down strum with my middle finger, and the same sort of alternating between my middle and index finger. This time you'll notice it actually has more zeros than the previous one, right? Previous one, I said 5, it has 7, right? And now this one has 8. Right? So those two measures sound like this. Now as we go into the next measure, we're going to play what's called an F sharp diminished chord, which is really just also referred to as a Hawaiian D7. Index finger here on the second fret of the G string, middle finger here on the second fret of the E string. We're going to do the same down strum there. But then what we're going to do is we're going to play 0, 2, 3 on the A string at the end of this measure. And when we do that, when we play the 2, we can leave these fingers fretted, but by the time we go up to the 3, it's okay to start removing those fingers. So that last measure is. Now as we go into the next measure here, we're going to use our index finger on the first fret of the E string and our pinky finger here on the 5th fret of the A string. We're going to strum our C, E, and A with the C string being open using our thumb. Now from this point we're going to be moving up the neck. And so to do this we're going to take our middle finger, place it on the 8th fret of the E string. We're going to play that note, then take our pinky and place it on 10 of the E. Now it's really important to use these fingerings here, the middle finger on 8 and the pinky on 10, because of what comes next. Just to recap that measure though, we're going to play the index here on 1 of the E, pinky here on 5 of the A. Then we slide up, use our middle finger on 8 of the E, pinky on 10 of the E. Now this next measure, we're going to leave our middle finger here on 8 of the E, and take off the pinky. Use your index finger on 7 of the A string, and use your ring finger on 9 of the C. We're going to play our C, E, and A strings all together. And you'll notice that that's the same sort of chord shape as our E minor chord, just moved all the way up to create an A minor. Now after we strum through this, we're going to play 8 on the E and 9 on the C. So that measure is. From this point, we're going to go to a G chord, but not our usual G chord. What we're going to do instead is take this index finger and slide it down to 5 on the A string. And then these two fingers are going to flip-flop, with our middle finger coming up to 7 on the C, and our ring finger squeaking in underneath onto the 7th fret of the E string. So we have 7, 7, and 5. This is a pretty tricky transition. You'll notice that you'll have to turn your hand so that your wrist is pointed more towards the headstock, and your fingernails are essentially pointed towards your right shoulder if you're a right-handed player. We're going to strum through those 3, and then we're just going to play the E string and then the C string. So that measure is. And then we're going to go to the D chord here. And the way we do this is bar all the way across 2 with our index finger. Take our pinky, play it on 5 of the A. Make sure that you've got a nice connection all the way across. Just a tip with bars, getting close to the fret can really help make sure that you've got a good connection to it. Push smarter, not harder. We strum all the way through that chord. And then we're going to play the open A. And this is tricky because when we play this open A, we have to take off our pinky, but then we also have to raise our finger off to allow that A string to ring. Now, if you can't quite get the flexibility here, it's okay to take off everything to play that open A, but you will notice that'll make the chord not ring quite as vibrantly. Versus. And then we're going to play 2 on the E, which if you just raise your finger off, you'll be able to still have there on 2 of the E from the D chord. So that's how that measure sounds. And now we go to the last measure of the intro, which is an E7 chord, index finger here on the 1st fret of the G string, middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the C, and ring finger here on 2nd of the A. And to start the next section, you'll see that there's a 0 on the E, and it's played at the very end of this. That's sort of a pickup into the main melody. So that's the intro. Again, it's my favorite part of the song. I don't know why, I just think it sounds really cool. The big trick is getting comfortable with alternating those 2 fingers at the very beginning to build up the speed that's needed. This is the fastest part of the whole song, is those single A notes that are played at this section there. So it's just a lot of practice to get the correct muscle memory between these 2 fingers alternating. It's much easier though to alternate between 2 fingers than it is to just play one. For instance, if I try to just do that with the thumb, it's just difficult to get that thumb to work as efficiently as 2 fingers. So from here we're going to go into the verse. So when we play this verse, I'm going to start with that A minor chord again. And I like to use the index finger here only because of what comes next. After I play this A minor, strumming through with my thumb, I'm going to play 2 on the A with my middle finger, and then 3 on the A with my ring finger. Now immediately going into the next measure, I'm just going to take this ring finger and I'm going to move it up to 3 on the E. Now if I do that, it's very efficient because this finger is just moving 1. But now when I play the 2, I'm going to be using my middle finger, and then 3 will be the pinky finger. Now I really like doing it this way. The pinky finger, getting a little bit of a workout is always a good idea, but there are alternate ways of playing it. So if you find it more comfortable to use your middle finger here on the 3 of the E, so that you can play the 2A with the index and the 3A with the ring, that's okay too. They're both going to be just fine to play. So again, those 2 measures. Or and they both work. We go into the next measure and we're going to play 2 with the index finger on the G string, 2 on the E string with our middle finger. Really important to use these 2 fingers because when we play the 2 and the 3 on the A string here, we want to make sure we've got 2 fingers free to be able to do it. And then the last measure of this run is going to be pinky finger out to 5 on the A and index here on 1 of the E. Play just the C, E, and A together, and then the 3 on the A. So this 4 measure run sounds something like this. Now as we go into the next measure, we're going to play all open on the C, E, and A. Take our pinky, go out to 7 on the A. Then index here on 3 of the A. Then open A. Then we're going to play a G chord, just an everyday G. So index here on 2 of the C, ring here on 3 of the E, and middle here on 2 of the A. Strip away the middle finger, play open on the A. 3 on the E, which should already be there with the ring finger. And then from here, we're going to play a D chord. That's 2-2-2-0. Now there's two different ways to play this. One is with that partial bar that we actually talked about earlier in the intro, having our index finger play 2 on the G, C, E, and A, and then bending up so that the A string is exposed. This one takes a bit of flexibility and practice, but it's preferred because of its efficiency. If this one's too difficult, you can play it this way as well, which is using 3 different fingers, index on 2 of the G, middle on 2 of the C, and ring on 2 of the E, still leaving the A string open. Both are going to work. But I like this one because the very next chord that's played is the 5 on the A. So those 3 measures sound something like this. Now from here, it's going to repeat, and it goes back to the last measure of the intro, which is that E7 chord. And then it goes all the way through this section again. So but now, instead of going to the first ending, we go to the second ending, which you can see is a C major chord. So we're going to take our index, play it on the 3rd fret of the A string. We're going to strum all the way through all 4 strings. Then we're going to take our pinky, add it to 7 on the A. And then we're going to go to an E7 chord. It's actually just an E major, but it's functioning, creating the tension of an E7, which is barring all the way across with the index finger on the 4th fret, leaving our pinky here at 7, strumming all the way through. Now, at this point, we're done with the verse, and you'll notice that there's a lot of interesting things that happen in that verse in terms of descending lines and all sorts of cool stuff. The Beatles were absolute masters of using things like chromatic walk downs, all these other really cool music theory concepts, and this song is no exception. One of the concepts that's used in the song is the aspect that's called parallel major and minor, or in this case, minor and major. We've been playing in the key of A minor so far, but as we go into the chorus, we're going from the key of A minor into the key of A major. They're called parallel major minor, or minor major in this case, because it's A minor to A major. And normally that's something that we don't do a lot in music, but again, it works really well in the song, and it creates this really kind of cool sadness followed by happiness sort of sound with the minor going into major. So as we look at the chorus now, we're going to start here with an A chord, and we're going to use our index finger on the C string 1st fret and our middle finger on the 2nd fret of the G string. Strum through with our thumb here. And then we're going to stretch our pinky out to 4. And then we're going to use our ring finger here on 2 of the A, and back to 4 on the A with the pinky. So the first measure is, and from here we're going to go way up the fretboard. We're really going to be exploring the higher numbers here. We're going to take our pinky and slide it all the way up to fret 11. And in addition to that fret 11, we're going to take our ring finger, place it on fret 9 of the E string, take our middle finger and place it on fret 8 of the C string. And what I like to do is preemptively take my index finger and place it on fret 7 of the A string. Now this index finger doesn't have to be there yet because of that pinky. But when you look at this measure, we strum through our C, E, and A. Make sure you don't touch the G string. It'll sound real bad if you pluck the G there. So just the C, E, and A. And then you'll notice 9 on the A is next. And I think this is the hardest part of the whole song. So if this feels a little bit overwhelming, that's okay. It's the hardest part. We'll take the most practice. You're going to take that pinky and you're going to slide it down to 9 on the A, sort of squeezing it in underneath the other fingers. And then the next note that you're going to play 7 on the A, which the index finger is in charge of. So that measure sounds and looks like. Again, I think it's the hardest part of the whole song, and if you're able to get it, I think that the rest is relatively smooth sailing just because of how tight this whole voicing is. So now the next chord, we're going to take this index finger and slide it down to fret 4 and take off the other fingers. And then we're going to add the middle finger on 5 of the E and the ring finger here on 6 of the C. So again, it's like an E minor chord just moved up 2 frets this time. We're going to strum the C, E, and A strings. Again, no G string here. Then we're going to play 4 on the A, then 7 on the E. But what we do is leave these fingers right where they are, take the pinky, add it to 7 on the E, and then play the 4 on the A again. So notice I didn't take away any fingers. So that measure is. Now going into the next measure, we're going to bar across 4 on the C, E, and A strings. We're going to take our pinky and add it on 7 of the A. And we're going to strum through all 3 of these strings. Again, no G string. Then we're going to take the pinky off and play 4 on the A. So that measure, nice and simple, is. Now we just take this bar, move it down 2 frets, down to 2, play that. Play 2 on the A. Take the pinky, add it to 5 on the E, again not moving that bar at all. And then play the 2 on the A string again. So that measure is. Now this next measure is really straightforward, really important to get good tone because we don't have a lot other notes ringing with it. We're going to play 7 on the A string, and we're going to use our pinky for that, and then we're going to play 4 on the A string. We can just use our index finger for that. So that measure is just. And now we go into a repeat section. We're going to play an E7 chord. Index finger on 1st fret of the G string, middle finger on 2nd fret of the C, ring finger on 2nd fret of the A. Go ahead and strum through that. And then we're going to take this shape and we're going to remove the index finger and just slide both of these fingers up 2 frets to 4. We're going to play the C, E, and A strings together. Now moving right along, you'll see that it's going to go to play 6 and 5 on the C and A strings, again being open on the E. So we're sort of starting here and then going here. So when we slide up again, what we're going to do is slide our middle finger up to that 6. We're going to take our index finger and pivot it underneath to be on 5 of the A. We're going to play those, and then we're going to slide this up 2 more frets. So that whole section looks and sounds something like. Now at this point, it again is going to repeat. So if you look at the tab, you'll see that there are repeat signs. You go all the way back to where the other repeat signs bounce, essentially. And that's going to be at the chorus, right, where it says the chord A. And so we go right back to what we just played, and it should sound something like this, essentially. Again, getting that slide comfortable with this. It's a massive, massive movement, and that's what makes it so tough. Now, this time, because we already played it the first time, we're going to go to that second ending there. And so with that second ending, what we're going to do is play the 4 and 0 and 4 that was listed before, and then we're going to go to an E7. We're going to bar all the way across the 4th fret and the 5th fret on the A string. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go down, down, up, down. Now it's really important as we play this to get comfortable with those strum markers because the directions of the strums will be shown with these symbols. We've used these symbols in other tutorials before, but essentially this symbol means a down strum and this symbol means an up strum. And so you can see at that point we have down, down, up, down. Now this closes out the chorus of the song and we head into the verse and a repeat of the verse. This repeat of the verse, though, is going to be more intense. It's going to use strumming to create a sense of kind of building with the song. And it makes this section to be a little bit more difficult than the first run through of the verse. So from here, we're going to play 0 on the E, we're going to play 0 on the A, And then we're going to start with a whole lot of strumming stuff. So 0 E, 0 A, play our A minor chord, and we're going to go down, up, and then add the 2 on the A, down, and then 3 on the A, up. And then you'll notice all these X's mean to chunk. And so if chunking is a technique that you haven't worked on before, be sure and check out the link in the description below. That's a whole video just on chunking and how to make them sound better. It's a technique that takes some practice, but that's what that symbol means, is to do a chunk. So we do the chunk, and then you'll see it has an up strum with that same chord from the first run through of the verse, the 0, 0, 3, 0, just with our ring finger or middle finger here on the E string. We're going to come up. So that whole measure is something like this. We play open A, then down, up, chunk, up. A lot going on there. Let's try that one more time, really, really slow. So 0 on the A, and the A minor, down, up, add 2 on the A, down, add 3 on the A, up, chunk, and then switch chords, up. Going right into the next measure, we're going to go miss, up, down, up, and then we're going to add the 2 on the A, down, and then the 3 on the A on an up, and then chunk, then up on a new chord here of 2, 0, 2, 0, same one that we did in the first run through of the verse, and come up. So that measure should sound something like this. And you'll notice that there's a pattern beginning to form here, because the next measure is exactly the same from a rhythm standpoint. We're going to be holding this new chord. We're going to go with an up, down, up, add the 2, down, add the 3 on the up, chunk, and then a new chord where we slide up the 5 on the A string, index finger here on the first fret of the E, and we come up. So that measure sounds something like this. Now this measure is a little bit more straightforward. We're going to do another up strum, followed by another up strum, and then when we do these up strums, excuse me, I just was holding the 5. What's important there is after we play the 5 initially, those up strums that I just mentioned, we're going to remove our pinky and add the ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the A string. We're going to come up on that, and then we're going to come up again, and then down, up, down, up. So that measure is only going up, up, down, up, down, up. Now this whole section, again, it's tricky because of the rhythm used, the strums. And what you want to make sure you're comfortable with is if there are 2 up strums written in a row or 2 down strums written in a row, you have to make sure you make a down or up motion in between them. Meaning if it's written up, up, it's really an up, miss going down, and then come up again. That way you can keep your hand really steady like a metronome to ensure that you're exactly correct with the timing on the strumming with this. For more information on that style of strumming and creating patterns and all of that, I've got a course that I did with Ukulele Underground that I've shamelessly put in the description below, so check that out if you haven't already. But again, it's just a matter of making sure that your hand continuously moves. So that whole section, the whole strum part, should sound something like this. Now we're going to go right into the next measure, which you'll notice is very similar to what we played in the first verse, which is we're going to do a down strum on an A minor chord, and then we're going to use our thumb, so we're stopping the strumming momentarily, play 7 on the A, and then 3 on the E, and then open A. So that measure is, and we're going to play a G chord just like we did before, but this time instead of just holding it for 2 beats, we're going to do a down strum for a little bit of filler. So we do with our thumb, then our index finger. And the way that we can tell the difference is the thumb has no marker written, while the index has that down strum marker. Then open on the A, just removing that middle finger, 3 on the E. Now the first ending of this is we're going to go to that D chord, and we're going to do down with our thumb, and then we're going to start a strum pattern. This strum pattern is going to be down, up, and then add 5 on the A, down, up, So through with the thumb, open on the A, then down, up, add the pinky, down, up, down, up. Going into the very next measure with that, we're going to just take this whole shape and slide it up 2 frets. So that's 4, 4, 4, 7. So an E chord. We're going to go down, up, down, up, down. So that measure is just down, up, down, up, down, followed by the open E into the repeat of this verse. So that into the repeat would sound like this. We play all the way through this section until we get to the... And now, instead of going to that first ending again, we now go to the second ending. And the second ending is going to be the end of the song, which is a relatively simple ending, mainly because this song is sort of tough to end. It just wants to keep going and going and going. And even though we're at the end sequence here, if you don't want the song to end, you can actually jump all the way back to the chorus. And it's really fun to repeat that chorus and go back into the verse and layer in different sounds and experiment with strums and everything else to kind of make it your own. You'll notice the variation between the verse 1 and verse 2 here had a lot of strumming. Our chorus is relatively the same both ways through. So feel free to change it up a little bit and experiment with it. It's a fun song to play with. But to finish it here, we're going to go to that D chord. We're going to play that. Then we're going to play the 2 on the A. Then we're going to slide up 2 frets to the 4, 4, 4, 7. And then halfway through that measure, we're going to slide this bar up to all the way across 7 with our index, middle finger on 8 of the C, and then our pinky's going to go all the way up to 11 of the A. So what that sounds like so far is... And then for the ending, we're going to use harmonics. And harmonics are a really cool, unique thing to string instruments. Actually, I don't know if they're unique to string instruments, but I imagine the approach is unique to string instruments. And I've got a video talking about harmonics down in the description below as well, in case you haven't used harmonics before. But I just thought it was a fitting way to end this song with that sort of A minor harmonic type of sound. So that's it. That's the whole arrangement. Hope you guys have enjoyed working through it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave any of them down in comments below. And again, for the tab of this as well as other lessons, be sure to check out my Patreon page, which is at the top of the description below. Every single month, we do a vote on songs that are suggestions from people that are our members. And every single member can suggest a song and get a vote. So it's pretty cool to see what everyone wants to play each month. So be sure to check back next month for another tutorial, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys next time. Thanks.